Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. This is the Day In, Day Out podcast. This is episode 33, where I had the pleasure of having Russell Nolte on, who is a best-selling author. He also has he is also the host of the Complete Creative podcast, where he basically helps people who are starting their creative journey, helping them become a more successful. He is a very passionate man about what he does, which is always a pleasure to be around people who have that sort of passion and creativity. Anyway, what I'd like to say is sit back, enjoy the podcast. If you're sitting back, go for a run, or wherever you might be listening to the podcast. Enjoy, have a great day. Please stay safe, stay well, and be awesome. And thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the show. Anyway, peace. Haha. Yo. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. I do hope you're having a good day. This is Day In, Day Out. This is episode 33. Today, I have Russell Nolte with me today. How can I say it? He is an author. He is a publisher. He does many things, and he is also a podcaster. But I could go into it, but it's not about me. It's about him. How are you today, Russell?
I'm doing great. I have a really big event scheduled tomorrow that I'm kind of freaking out for, but I pretty much always have some big event that's coming up that I'm freaking out for. So it used to be a unique thing, and now it seems to be just consistently big events that I'm planning for or putting on.
No, that's great. What is this big event you're looking forward to tomorrow?
So I I started running events for writers and comic creators. So this is called Alt FCD. So if you are a comic book fan, you would know that Free Comic Book Day is tomorrow when we're recording. It's the first Saturday in May, and it is about the biggest comic book event of the year. It's all over the globe. It's hundreds, if not thousands, of stores. It's every comic creator, every comic book store, almost every comic book fan will come out to one of their stores for this day, and it's been postponed because of the incident of the world, what's happening out there, and so. Me and my friend decided we wanted to do something that would kind of bring the comic community together, and we could kind of wipe out this miserable April and bring in May and like really try and bring a renewed spirit and energy to comics. And so we're called Alt FCD, which is Alt Free Comic Days. It's a 2-day event where we have a Facebook group with dozens of comic books in it and dozens of creators doing panels and Ask Me Anythings throughout the weekend. And then we have a big live stream, which is 14 hours of content, which has panels from Jimmy Palmiotti, who's a huge comic book creator, Marv Wolfman, that created the Teen Titans and Blade, and he aside from Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and Stan Lee, he's got more comic book characters, beloved comic book characters, than anyone else. And we have Richard Starkings, who created Elephant Men and The Killing Joke, Kevin Eastman, who co-created Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sandy Carpenter, who's John Carpenter's wife and runs Storm King Comics, which is their publishing company, and their publishing company also, or their production company also. And so we have Kickstarter and How to Work with Hollywood. So we have Jonathan Mayberry, who had the Vampire Wars show that was on Netflix for a couple of seasons, and it's basically 2 days, 14 hours of content plus AMAs and comics, and there's over 50 creators that are involved in this one. I just finished one called the Online Writers Conference, which was similarly, but without the comics and without the AMAs. We did that one a little bit differently. And then that's my third one I've done in a month and a half. The first one was called WannaCon, which was for our company Wannabe Press's fans. We did sort of similar thing, but with much quicker. So it's been a I ran a big book launch last month on Kickstarter, plus these 3 events. It's been quite I really haven't had a chance to even think about COVID because I've been running these huge things for the past pretty much since it started.
Like, you know what? I'm loving that. You are in the state of go, my friend. All systems, all go. Like, yeah, making it happen. 14 hours. Like that is a very long day, and with all those creators as well. So like it must have been. It's disappointing with the current world situation why you couldn't bring everyone together, but to push forward and still be running it, that is very impressive indeed. So with this, are you going to be doing a live forum? Is it going to be live on Facebook, or is it going to be something which is going to be like a Zoom meeting or something like that?
Oh, so it's going to be live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, plus our Facebook, our Alt FCD website. So it's going to be live broadcast all of those places. We're taking live questions from fans. There's going to be we're hoping to bring some of that electricity of a live event. I'm known for being at live events. I do 20 or 30 a year at minimum. And this year I'm going to be doing none. And next year I'm probably going to be doing none as well. So we're trying to find a way to bring the electricity still and have some of that spark you get online, some of those like immediate questions, and
Mm.
find ways to sort of bring communities together. One of the things that I'm very good at is bringing communities together, I have found. So I create these big anthologies. We did one called Monsters and Other Scary Shit. Our follow-up is called Cthulhu is Hard to Spell.
Yeah.
And then our last one, Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, The Terrible Twos. So we had about almost 200 creators across the 3 books and almost 100 stories. And they've raised, like, they're our best-selling products. So the first one raised $27,000 at launch, then 39, and then 31. So, close to $100,000 at launch from those books alone, those 3 books alone. And so I'm sort of bringing that same spirit of how to make an anthology and making these sort of virtual live summits. And they're all free right now. Like, they're all just free for us to, like, ways for people to hang out and connect. Probably I'm hoping to find some way to monetize it at some point, but like they also are very low cost for me.
Yeah.
So, I had to pay for the hosting services and then the domain names, but pretty much I do everything else myself, and with help from the other people that run the shows with me. So this one is my friend Neil Edmond. I have another one run with my friend Nick Nelson, and it's just like sort of us cashing in all of our favors to find these awesome creators involved and like put on a good experience. And then I use that to funnel into our email lists. And I don't know if you're a more businessy show or a more like just talky show, or like what you like to get out of it. But, that is sort of our business strategy. Is the upside for us is we'll be known as the connector in the community, and we'll be putting out a lot of good energy and putting out all of that energy. I thought it was stupid when people would say that it would come back to you tenfold, but it really does come back to you tenfold if you're trying to like do good for the community. I spend very little on ads, and it's all through like this grassroots organizing and building community.
No, that's superb. Yeah, with regards to myself and this podcast, it's more of a talky podcast, to use your words. So like I basically try to talk to as many people as possible, but more on a positive line of things, because I think there's out there right now, most times, if you lean towards the negative, you can get fast results if you want that, but it doesn't really sort of do any good in the long run. But like, so I try to keep it light, keep it positive, and get to meet and speak to many interesting people, because like as time goes by, you often find you talk to less people. Like you go through your teenage years, you're talking to everyone. You go through your early 20s, your 20s, you're still talking to everyone. Then it starts to fade away. as each year goes by. When you get into your 40s, like myself, it's a case of you find yourself sort of getting a little bit more set in your ways, but it's a case of you just talk to less people because life, kids, everything like that, people are busy. So you don't talk to as many people. So this is, I would say, an excellent opportunity for me to get out there, talk to people, get to know them a little bit better. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is the reason why I bring yourself and others onto this. You were about to say?
So I have a podcast called The Complete Creative, and it just came back after a 2-year hiatus, 2019, so November of last year.
Okay.
And it really came back because, first people kept asking me to please bring it back, but it mostly came back because of the similar thing. I was finding that like I really cherished my time that I could spend with creators, and I wasn't able to do it nearly as much. And I wanted to have 1 hour a week, just 1 hour a week that was like devoted to me meeting or getting to know better an interesting human that I knew. So what you said resonates because I feel similarly. Like, and as I've become more successful, I actually feel more alone. I feel like there's less people that really understand what it means to be like at the level that I'm at, which is not a high level. It's just that like there's so much that goes into like maintaining a brand and building a brand and keeping it going and keeping people happy and keeping the cash flow going and, you know, feeling like it's all on you and feeling like even though you're part of the community, you also kind of lead the community. So it's like I'm one of you, but I'm with you, but I'm not like I also have to like maintain my cool around you. Like I can't really be myself because like my full self because like you work for me, you work with me, like you're here for an experience because like you want to meet the author, but you don't want to meet the author at his worst. You want to meet him at his best. And like, so it's, even though I feel like I have a huge supportive community, I also feel like there's very few people that I can talk to about the place that I'm in or the problems that I have. So like, for instance,
Okay.
We just did this book launch, right? $31,000, which seems like it's amazing, right? Like it's like incredible. Like there's no person who could complain about getting $30,000. But the truth is that like $35,000 are going out for this book. So like, but it feels like if I complain about the fact that I'm losing money on this endeavor,
Yeah.
and people would say like, well, how could you be upset? Like you just raised $30,000. Like I don't want to hear it. So it's one of those things where you have to really toe a line of like, I want to be open and honest, but like if I'm actually open and honest for real, people are going to be upset because their mental model is that if I made $30,000 on Kickstarter, or like I made $30,000 at a launch, then like my problems then all of my problems would go away. And if you kind of break that and are like, no, man, you've got the same problems. It's not even about like me having the problems. It's about the fact that like it's breaking the mental model that someone had made for themselves. And I try to be respectful of that because a lot of times the mental model is all we got. Like the mental model is like, that's the hope. And like, if you start impinging on the hope that people have, it like, they get angry and they get despondent. And so you want to keep the hope because there is like, I truly believe that like in the darkness, all you have is hope. All you have is like to hodl it like a little bird so it doesn't get broken and like just to use it as a little bit of warmth until you can find the light again. And so I don't want to break that for somebody, but I also want to be honest. And it's a lot harder to be really honest, like honest in the way that like everyone will understand. if when you become more successful, because the higher you get on the ladder, the less people actually understand that.
Mm. Yeah, like this is a thing. The higher you get up on the ladder, well, also say, and I've had friends who have been highly successful doing their own businesses and stuff like this. Like people just tend to see the end result. They don't actually see the whole journey behind it, and basically the sort of small nuances which go behind the decisions and like, yeah, how it can like $1,000 here makes a difference between a win or a loss. And when you try to explain that to people, when you go through if you went through the whole process, because they haven't gone through that, or they're not planning to go through that, because when you're a business owner or when you start something, a new creative venture, it's your heart is on your sleeve. And basically when you're going through all of this, it is a hard journey, and they don't know the pain of that journey it can bring sometimes. And if they're just going through life as an employee, or like not really taking that sense of responsibility on, it's like, yeah, it's the end of the day. Bye-bye, I'm gone.
Well, the other thing is like, okay, so like, I don't, but people don't want to know that, like, I just want, like, well, I don't watch sports anymore, but I used to watch sports, and I just wanted to watch the sports. Like, I didn't want to watch the training video. Like, I didn't want you to tell me like that you tore your ACL. Like, I just want to watch the game. Like, just show me the game.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how it feels. Is like, look, man, I know, like, just show me the book. Like, just show me the book. Like, just show me the end result of it. I just want to read the book. And like,
yeah,
not everyone is like that, but even the people that want to know, like, I could never understand what it meant to train to be an Olympic athlete. Like, I could never, like, you could tell me all day what it means to train, and like, I could never understand the pain that someone goes through. Just couldn't, like, I just, like, it'd be completely lost on me. So like, whereas someone who was like maybe not an Olympic athlete, but like a college athlete or even a high school athlete can at least like understand that level, because they've gotten to a specific level. So like, they understand what it means, but they don't understand the pressure that an Olympic athlete has, right? Like, they don't understand, like, someone who ran track in high school could never know what it meant to like be in the qualifying round of the Olympics and like being 0.1 seconds from getting to the final, or 0.1 seconds from qualifying to go to the Olympics. Like, it's an impossible amount of pressure to feel. Like, you just can't, I don't think you can explain something like that to somebody.
No, I imagine with the analogies you gave me, yeah, I can understand how it can be difficult. I can understand how it can be very hard. And yeah, sort of put, like, if you were putting that down, say on a blog or a vlog or something like that, just to sort of get that over, admittedly, there's not going to be a number of people which are going to be like going, oh, I feel the pressure you're going through. I can feel your pain, but it gives them a much better idea of it. And yeah, it might be a good outlet to maybe have that sort of conversation.
It is. I mean, so I do, like, so my blog and podcast, The Complete Creative, is all about this. It's all about this idea of like mindset and creativity and salesmanship and marketing. But I still feel like I run that company. And so like, by some definition, it is hard often to identify with the people who read my blog.
How so?
Because so I run 3 companies.
Yes.
Right? Like, and there's a certain expectation of quality when I put something out, which is hard for me to even reach. Like, I put out like big, beautiful hardcover books that like are impeccably made, which means like the standards are very exacting for me, and I live in the thing.
Yeah.
So like, the expectations I have are so high, and the expectations that other people have of me are so high, that it's hard to identify. It's hard for someone to identify with, and for me to appropriately make them understand what it means um, without um, without them actually having gone through it themselves.
Okay.
It's sort of like childbirth. Like I don't think I don't know how you could possibly explain the pain of childbirth without just having it. But every woman who's been in labor understands that feeling. You can be like, it's kind of like having a kidney stone, or like it's kind of like this, or it's kind of like this pain, but it's not that pain. It's a different pain that like you literally can only feel if you are giving birth. Okay. So people that have given birth can all just like look at each other and be like, well, that sucked, huh? And they're like, yeah, you don't have to literally explain anything to me. They just, and like they connect on a different level of their lives than you do when you like haven't gone through it. And it also is like, okay, do I want to spend the next hour explaining what childbirth is like to this person? Like, it's exhausting. Whereas like I could just go and talk to my friend who's had 3 kids and we can talk about it right now.
Yeah.
And like we could cut through that whole hour conversation. And I do love that hour conversation. I'm not complaining about the audience or any of that stuff. It's just I'm more and more feeling that like, wow, how can I have all of these people that like love my work and like care about me, and I just feel like totally alone in it because there's nobody that actually understands so few people that understand the thing that I'm actually going through. Despite the fact that there are so many people that love and like my work.
Yeah, no, like this is the thing. Doing the journey you're on right now, it's not going to be an easy one. Like because like what I often tend to see when you've got people who are creative, they're really good at the creative, and they're not good at doing the business side, or there are people who are really good at the business side but not good at the creative. If you're pushing through on both sides, you already sort of have a separation from either your creative peeps and your business peeps as well, with some of that. And when you're talking about being in the trenches, like I wouldn't say being in the trenches is the right word. I would say when you're like on this journey and you're pushing forward, and yeah, you're getting your success, and it sometimes is hard when you are there because you do have that feeling of being disconnected from the people you start out with.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is it's just like this disassociation of like, I used to totally understand that. I also kind of don't understand certain things also. Like I don't understand working a job. Like my wife talks to me about working a job and I don't understand. Like I can't understand the thing that she's saying. Like when people are talking about like launching their first book, like I've launched so many books now that like I remember the feeling of launching my first book.
Yeah.
But like I can't replicate the feeling of it. Like I don't know. Like I know I had that feeling, but I can't pull it up. Like having no audience, it's become harder for me. Like I can tell you how to build an audience from scratch on like how to like do your show, but like to actually have a feeling that like nobody wanted my work, that like I don't know who wants my work, and like I don't know what, like I don't remember that feeling. Like I now like can at least lay back and say, well, you know, I know a bunch of people like my work. It may not be as many as I want, but like they are there. Like they're out there. Like because they buy all my books and like great volume. And so there's a lot of things that like it's not just like nobody woe is me, nobody understands me because like I'm so successful. Because I think that's only half of it. The other half is like there's become this disassociation where I can't remember what it's like to do certain things. Like I can remember the muscle memory of what I did, but I can't remember what it was like to like put together a book or not know anybody or have no network or have no one to rely on, or all of those things are things I've gone through. I've gone through them just like everyone goes through them when they start. I can kind of replicate it because like my podcast is not like very popular. It only gets about 100 to 200 downloads an episode, which like is not amazing, but like I also kind of don't care how many people listen to it. It's for me. It's a show for me. Like it's a me thing. Like it's a thing I love, and I know I don't put that much effort into like building that audience over there. And maybe if I did, it'd be more successful. I also know it's a quite niche topic of like how many creatives want to learn how to build their business and sustain their business and don't just want to like hope that it all goes away with magic. Like most people I know like that are creative people, like they hope that magically like they're going to get an audience and go viral instead of like doing the work. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, about like being part of the world, but being like part of the world, but not feeling like one with the world, like feeling like I built this whole tribe of people and I've like done all of this stuff and like I've had a very successful career, and like now that I've like made it to a certain level, I kind of look around at a lot of the people and I'm like, oh, well, like y'all went in your other directions and I went in this very crazy business and creativity direction, and like I just don't remember a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. Like I just don't, like I know the feeling of not having money. But like I don't know the feeling of like not being able to make a product that will make money, because like I understand like I grasp how to do that. Like I understand the principle of like, crap, I have no money. Now I'm going to make something. Whereas most people even aren't at that point. Like I have no money and like, what do I make? Whereas like, I know what to make and how to do it and execute it. This is becoming a therapy session.
And we still got time. So tell me about your,
I mean, it's great. Like, I don't want to say it's like, it's great. It's just odd to like, I knew that the feeling would come one day where like, I would understand what it didn't feel like. I would stop being able to understand in a deep sense what it meant to break into an industry.
Right.
Because like, I don't, and while I'm trying to break into other industries, right? And so I can kind of remember that feeling. It's like, I still always have this safety net of like, but these people still like me. And these the people still buy my books. So like I'm never quite as alone as I remember being when I was going out with my first book and being like, hey, will you look at this? 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 Is it good? 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 Because like, I at least know that it's good because the people that buy my books like spend money on them, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Like one of the things you mentioned, like the podcast. But like you're like you've gone back to doing the podcast with the 200 downloads. Maybe that could be a good way to sort of get you to basically get that sort of connection back again. Like basically, like when you sort of relive it, get that sort of spark and telling others, it might be a way of going, okay, yeah, right. Like it's been a long time. It's been a bit hazy, but yeah, that question you asked about, yeah, how did you source the materials for this particular like book, or how did you find the like is inkist the right term for people who do the coloring in the inker
and colorist?
Yeah, colorist in your comic.
So here's a really interesting thing, because like that's a great question, and like I don't have any idea how you would go about doing that now. This is one of those questions where I'm like, I don't know. Like I have a deep network full of creators and colorists. Like if I wanted a colorist, I would literally find one. And like, so I'm doing this big virtual summit, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we filled it pretty easily. If you like me and my friend like know a lot of people, so I don't know how to tell you, if you don't know people, like how to do a summit. Like I don't like how, like all we did was I went to my Facebook Messenger and I messaged like a bunch of my friends who happened to be big names, and he did the same. And like a week later, we had the show. Like, and I like that's not to be insulting to like people that can't do that. It's just like I don't know what to do if you like message their websites, like go and tweet at them. Like I ask your friend, ask a friend, ask a friend. Like I'm incapable of understanding what it would be like to do the thing if I did not have the resources, because then I would just be like, so like, let's say I tried to do one in an industry that I didn't know. I would just be like, hey, Bob, don't you know the head of this big industry? Like, can you call them for me? And then I would like, because I have a good connection here, it would become a good connection over here. So I don't like, see, this is the thing, is like, I don't know how to because like, it's not me complaining. It's just an interesting phenomenon that I've noticed with other creators and other people that I know is suddenly they reach a point in their careers where it's hard for them to understand the thing. Like, people ask them certain questions and they stumble because they broke in like so long ago that they just, it's like, okay, like, I don't know. Like, I sent, like, my friend Marv, he's like, I just sent a submission to like the mailbox at DC, and like they called me to write something. And he's like, that is an impossible thing to do now. Like, you can't just do that. Like, it's not like, you can't just do a blind submission and like literally print it out and then like mail it in. Like, it's just not, you can't do that. So he's like, I don't know how to, that was 50 years ago for me. How do I do that? How do you do it? Like, how do you do that now? I don't know. Like, how do you, and then, so I think this is why you need to constantly, and he does this too, he constantly is talking to like younger creators, people who are just starting out now, and bringing them into his like life, because it helps him, like, it keeps him young, it keeps him relevant, and it keeps him like understanding what this thing is. And it's something that I understood as a phenomenon, like, because I work with a lot of creators, and like I do a lot of shows, and like I can hear them, like I hear them talking, and I can hear them getting harder and harder to like associate with the beginning of their career. And I knew it would happen to me someday, but it's just weird to like be living in it and be consciously aware of that thing. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I understand where you're coming from. But like, the way I kind of am seeing your sort of situation, and like, you go, I spoke to a couple of friends, and then basically before you knew it, you had your event, which kicks off tomorrow. And I look at it this way: if you were a builder, like you and your friends, like say your friend is a plumber, you're a builder, your other friend's an electrician, and basically you got another friend who's a carpenter. All you need now is, does anyone know how to lay a foundation? I've got a friend over here. Over that course of time, you've built a network. You've like, from like your reputation, your own brand, which some of it would have happened consciously, others organically. And over the course of the time, you've like, you've put yourself in this fantastic position where you can do stuff like that quite easily. Yeah, you may have lost sort of touch of finding the ink, like doing the Inca stuff and stuff, but you've got the connections there because you've got a substantial network, a team around you. You might feel like you might be in it by yourself with regards to certain aspects, but you've got a good team around you, good people around you to make these things happen. If you didn't have a good team or a good people around you, like setting up this event, I think would be a hell of a lot harder for yourself, and getting certain things done would be like nigh on impossible, you know?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have the ability to go and reach out to all of these people, and you'd have to start smaller, or you'd have to figure it out. But like, that's how I had to do it the first time, right? That's how you do it the first time. And like that's how I work backwards now. I kind of am regressive. I'm like, okay, so like what really helps me now is building a network. Like it really helped me like to have a network. So like so I started to build a network of like podcasters as well, and like I've been on a bunch of shows now, and I'm like, okay, so like if building a network is the most important thing, then like how do you deconstruct all of that? And that's the kind of stuff that I put on my website. Like I have a big article about how to build a network how to build a world-class network from scratch, and like I have things about like how to run a virtual summit, and like all of these sort of crazy things that I've learned to do over my life. Like I put it on the website, and I put it on the website when I do it, because I know, because then I can always reference back to it and like see it. But I also feel like that's another human who wrote it too. A lot of the things like, well, that was like, it was me, but like a way different version of me, like a kind of person that as time goes on, like I don't remember what it was like to be in college. I don't like that person. I felt like a different human went to college than I did like 15 years ago. Like I can kind of remember what it was like to move to LA. That was 15 years ago. I was like, I don't think I remember what it was like to be married, to like not be married. Like I don't think I remember what it would be like to like not be with my wife. Like I don't think I remember. I don't think I remember what it is like to be single. Like
Yeah.
it feels like there's a different human who was single, and then I came along and like only lived the life of a married person. And like there feels like there was a different person who had never done anything. And that person is hard to relate to. So maybe that is what I'm really like opining these days, is like it's hard for me to relate, but it's also hard for me to relate to me. Like it's hard for me to just look back and be like, I understand you, bro. Like I
Yeah.
get you. Like I just don't get that person. Like I don't know what it was like to be that person, even if it was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, but this is the thing. I always equate it to this. Like, if the person you were in school compared to the person you were in college is completely different. And like, if you look back and like you had that conversation, like you might go, "Oh my God, I was such a freaking idiot." And then basically every time you move forward, yeah, as long as there's sort of some personal growth going on, you are going to be completely different to the person
But
you
I don't
were
think that
before.
people talk about that part enough. I don't think they talk about like so like people talk about you not being like the same person, right? But like that person kind of died. Like they died, they're gone. And I don't think people talk about like what it really means to like that person no longer exists. Like I don't think that that's if I walked down the street next to my 30-year-old self, that I would recognize me. I just don't think I would. I don't, because like that, I mean, I would recognize me like now, but I don't think he would recognize me because I'm a totally different person. I would recognize him because like I was him, so I would remember like, hey, look, it's that guy. I remember
Yeah.
those glasses. But I don't think I could relate to him. Like I don't think I could like sit down with him and carry on a conversation with him without like wanting to leave in 5 minutes. Just don't. I think that it would be very annoying to be that, and that's both happy because like I've outgrown that person like a cocoon, but it's also kind of sad. I know you want to keep the happy things here, and this is not this point. This conversation went into a not happy direction,
No,
but
like,
like, it's like I'm very much. And what very much annoys me is that people is that there are all these not cliches, totems. There are all these things that people say all of the time about like what it means to be alive, or what it means to like build a business, or like what it means to build an audience from scratch. And they say it, but they don't actually like take like layer back down the concept of like what it actually means. Like what does it mean to like to do X, Y, or Z? Like we know that it happens, that like your old self dies and your new self emerges and all of this stuff, but like there's a whole bunch that goes into there that we just either don't understand or don't think about. And because of that, I think that people that come up after us, they get the short shaft because they know to expect a thing, like just like a magical thing that will eventually happen. And like, then you'll be like, here it is, here's the fairy dust, and now you're a different human. But like, they don't talk about the work that goes into it, and they don't talk about like the almost like grief and loss of like not just not being able to relate to like your high school friends or your college friends, or but like not being able to relate to you either, and like looking at your head, cocking your head when you see that person and being like, who are you? Like, I don't recognize any part of this anymore.
What I would say is with that, yeah, with regards to people growth and like basically growth, creative, and doing something, we all have the ability to create something new, something special, and stuff like that. But what, like, with that, you often find there is not a lot of people who will go out there and do it because one, they don't believe they can do it. Two, they might not be able to do it. Three, it's a case of they can do it, they have the abilities, but they're not prepared to go through the long, drawn out process to make that happen. And there are people out there who don't want to like grow, they don't want to change, and they'll try everything in their power to stay where they are. With regards to like people like yourself who are sort of like pushing themselves forward to like, yeah, I've got a number of different publications out there. I've started 3 businesses. I've had the Kickstarter. I've started a number of Kickstarters to make my sort of dreams happen. There's always going to be a cost to that. There's always going to be some type of sacrifice to that, to grow, to change. And if like what you've got to always realize there is that price to pay. And with that, yeah, you will change, you will develop, you will grow. And yeah, you have to say goodbye to your old self. And holding on to your old self gives no chance for anything for your new self to like grow, develop. And that means any sort of projects, dreams, hopes you might have will not flourish while you have your old self. It has to be like come from where your new self is going and your new like perspective to life
Well,
to
they
like
say
that.
that like it's not you who walks through the door. When you see a door and when you see a door and you're like, why couldn't I open that door until like I got to this level? It's because like you had to become the person who could walk through that door to the next level. And like, you're not that person now, but through the journey of whatever you're doing, you get like, you're able to open that door finally. And
Yeah.
so even if it's you technically who's opening the door, it's really not you. You know, I love fantasy books, and that's always a big theme in fantasy books. Like you kill, you have to go through the journey before you can like become this person who can do the thing. And by just doing the thing, you become a person who can do the thing. I guess the flip side of that though is like once you've killed the dragon, like Frodo's journey is so tragic in Lord of the Rings because like he does this amazing thing. Like he carried this burden to Mordor. He threw it. He's like the hero of the age. He's done everything. And then he looks back at his life and he can't relate to anyone. Just like, who can he talk to? Who could Bilbo talk to after he like defeated Smaug and all the dwarves left and Gandalf abandoned him and he's just sitting there like in his hobbit hole. So like I understand why Frodo had to leave to go to like off with the elves, because there was nothing for him there. There's nothing for him there anymore, because the things that he's seen has made him the kind of human who can no longer enjoy the things that he once loved. And that's the part that we don't really talk about. Like, you know, like I used to love playing video games, and like I can't, and sports and things, and like watching sports, and like I don't love any of those things anymore. Like I just can't like whatever the human being that I became, like I watched the stuff that I used to love die. And I'm like, yes, you don't have to have that happen, but like for any like growth to happen, as you said, like you go through a journey, and through that journey, you go through hell, and you have experiences, and you learn things, and you do X, Y, and Z, and you come up a different person on the other side. But like, what happens when you try to go home again? What happens when you try to like love the things you once loved? Like sometimes maybe you can make a place for it, but I think more often than not, like, because there's just more grief than I thought, like more like grieving things that I once loved. Not that I don't love my life now. Like I've never been happier, and like the things that I do now are amazing. It's just like there's this other side of it where it becomes hard. I have more in common with people at different, like at the same level of different business types than I do with people that are also authors on this vertical line. Like I have much more in common with like comic shop owners or bookstore owners or restaurant owners and convention owners, like those kinds of people who are at like a similar level of success than I do people who are like authors below me, it feels like. And that sucks, like, because I love talking to authors and like understanding their problems and like and other creative types. But like I feel as though I am a teacher in a world that the students, or like, and I have students, and like, you know, you don't understand your students. You don't live in this, you live in the same space, but like your world as the teacher and the children's world as a second grade classroom, like, are two separate worlds that just kind of coexist across each other.
Yeah. Now, what I'd say, that's going back where when you mentioned, it's like, you're mourning the stuff which you leave behind. Yeah, you've got to leave that behind. It's like, when they go, you've got to put aside childish things at the end of the day. Like, you got to realize, okay, those things were you. And like, you know what I mean? They laid the foundation of you, but it's not a case of that's where you are. Like, you've got to look to where you're going with regards to that sort of like bright future you're setting out for yourself, going through all this like pain, sacrifice, making it happen on a day-to-day basis, and look to what the richness of that future can be. Because look, there's a guy called David Goggins, ex-Navy SEAL. And like basically this guy, like, I don't know if you know him by any chance. If you don't,
I know who he is.
Yeah. But you saw how, like, okay, with that, he was 300 pounds almost at one point. He watched the documentary about becoming a Navy SEAL, and he was just like, right, fuck it, I'm doing it. And like, he was like, okay, went to the recruiters time and time again, got rejected, got to one, finally came in, they went, oh, you're a big boy. Okay, yeah. One, he was black. Two, he weighed like almost 300 pounds. And three, in order for him to get there, he needed to make sure he lost, I think he needed to weigh about 190 pounds to be able to get in. So he had to lose 100 pounds straight up. Started the process, put himself through pain. Like, first time he went out running, couldn't do it. He ran not even a quarter of a mile, came back, he said he cried. Like, then he like started to work out different processes to make sure, like, to start making that come together. He passed his test to get into the military, which was a huge hurdle for him because he says he's not the most literate fella, but he managed to do it. Studied like a madman, got that. Started riding the bike because he knew he couldn't run. started to lose the weight, lose the weight, lose the weight. And like, you know what? This is not a place of comfort in any of these stages. So like, it's like, right, he knew when he went through all of that and eventually it came down to the time, he managed to make it in to just the basic training to become a SEAL. This wasn't like mission over then, but he had to kill, well, he had to say goodbye to his 290-pound self by changing his mindset, by changing his attitude. And like, yeah, just moving forward with that. Like, yes, him at 290 pounds looking like, if you said that to him a year before, that he was going to like become, like go into basic training to become a Navy SEAL, you'll go, you're crazy. Leave me alone. I'm going to continue with what I'm doing, going to spray down for roaches and whatnot. It took that shift in his head to go, right, okay, I'm here right now. I need to be there. When he got in, and it was like, yeah, it wasn't a case of he did it the first time around. Once he failed, twice he failed, and like basically third time he got through, did 3 hell weeks, and he became a qualified Navy SEAL. And you know, that was a case of, yeah, he looked at himself in the mirror and went, yeah, I must say goodbye to who this person is. I can't just sit back and let this person who stares back at me keep me there, because who knows who he'd be right now. Would he be a success? Maybe he might be successful in something else. We don't know that. But we know him today as the Navy SEAL, who is an ultra runner, who has like done a world record for pull-ups, motivational speaker, and like, yes, he is a person who always comes with an attitude. If you went, yeah, David Goggins, quitter is not the first thing you associate with that guy's name. You're like going, yeah, he will come back again, he'll come back again, and come back again. You'll most already be near to killing him before he will actually go, I can't do this. But he is a person who is going to come back again and again and again. And he has made peace with the fact that you have to leave other things behind. It's just
yeah, I guess I just haven't come to that peace yet.
Well, like, this is the thing. I give it time, and I'm sure, like, you know, it'll come to you. It's not what I would say it's a problem for you. I think it's a case of when you come to terms with that, I think, hey, next level, as you said, you'll be prepared to go through that next doorway, which will take you into grander and better things.
For sure.
Like, answer me this, with regards to your event tomorrow, if you can remind me of the name of it again.
It's Alt FCD.
Yeah, with Alt FCD. Like, was it like, what was the logistics? Is the logistics easier this time around, or was it harder when you had an actual venue to deal with as well?
Oh, well, I mean, I've never done one that had a venue.
Okay.
But it was definitely, I don't know. So it's like every level another devil, right? So like the first one was easier because I didn't put a lot of effort into it to like put the dais together or think about it with the panelists together. But this one was definitely easier because like I knew what I wanted and I knew how to like execute it. So, you know, the first one I had so low expectations, I didn't really care what I wanted it to be live and I wanted us to do well, but like I didn't like plan for it to like be this amazing event. I just planned to do the best that I could. Now I know how to put on an amazing event. And so like now I have a process that I have tested multiple times and like split tested it and like done all the work to like make sure that it like is rock solid. And so so they were both easier for different ways, for different reasons. Like the expectation is much higher now.
Yeah.
So I think that makes it harder now, but the process is like the first time I was creating the process from scratch, and now I'm just like plugging pieces into the process. And so like it's never easy, but I would think that probably the first one was easier just because there was no expectations,
Mm.
as opposed to this one. But in like actually execution wise, I guess this was easier because I knew what the process was. Like I
Right.
didn't know what I was doing the first time, so I didn't know what was good or bad. Now at least I know what's good. And one of the beautiful things about being new is like you have no idea what works and what doesn't work, so you can like try it all and like
Mm.
it's like no expectation that it's good. Like this may be your most downloaded episode. It may be the one that like everyone hates. I don't know. You don't know. You just try it and then like you're like, okay, what well, I did 50 episodes and like these ones were good and these ones were not so great. And I felt really good in this one and I felt really terrible in that one. And like this is you sort of develop your process. And then I've done almost 200 episodes of my show and like I know what makes a show. Like I know what makes my show. Like I know what I want. I know who to book and like I know what we're going to talk about. Like I just know. Like I've written so many books that like I just know what a Russell Nolte book is. Like I know it. Like I know it in my soul. Like I know it so deep down that like I don't have to even think about it. I'm like, yes, that's a Russell Nolte book. Nope, that's not one. And like I can move on. Like it takes seconds now to like know what I'm going to do. When I decided to do that event a couple last month, like I knew it was a thing I should do. Like it's been something I was researching for a long time. I just knew it in my bones, like deep in
Mm.
my bones that like, well, there's not going to be a convention. That means there's a hole in the market. That means it's time to like rock and roll. And like, this is what I'm built for. Like I am built to get first mover advantage. I am built to like take advantage of these things. And so it was really, but I'm also built to say no a lot and I'm built to like keep my creative process very sacred, and so both of these things kind of work in tandem to make my decisions for me. But I tend to make very quick decisions that I have labored about for years, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I've written over 20 novels, so like I know what makes a Russell Nolte novel, not because I'm so smart, but because just I've written them. I've written
Mm.
I know what they're going to be. Like I just because every time I try to make something different, like it always kind of ends up to like have similar themes and stuff. And I keep
Yeah.
drifting back to the same kind of book, like every time, just always drifting back to like the similar couple genres and themes. Like I know what my show is because every time I try to have a different kind of show, it turns into like the same kind of show. So like I
Yeah.
just know like what makes an event of mine, what makes a book of mine, like what makes Russell. And for that, so we can end on a bad note, on a good note, sorry, on a high note, like I am very, 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 very grateful that I can um, have the kind of life where like I know supremely confidently what I like I have supreme confidence in what I am doing, not because like I'm some conceited jerkwad, but because I've just been through it 100 times before. Like I just know because I've I felt the beating heart of my company, and I've literally held it in my hands and like pumped it myself to try and keep it going. Like I have talked to so many thousands of fans. I've talked to I have created so many different products and projects and things that went well and things that went badly and things that like people love and things that people hated. And yes, I still try these different things because like you never know, right? Like you never know.
Mm.
You never know if you're going to love something new, but like I have pretty much done every part of my company. I have done every part of a dozen people's companies. And I know like what makes me tick deep down in my soul. And for all that stuff that we've talked about before, like it is a very powerful feeling. It is a very powerful feeling to be able to look at somebody and say, I am not interested in that,
Mm.
or I can't help you. But it's also very powerful to be like, I need to be in that now. Like that is a thing that like I need to go chase. Most people never have that clarity for their whole life. And like I have it. I have that clarity of the exact kind of thing that I want to do and exactly what to chase, and I can leave everything else kind of uh um like on the side. And yes, that has meant becoming the kind of person that I find a lot of trouble relating to a lot of people. And a lot of it is because like most people don't have that clarity.
Okay.
I mean, how often do you come across someone that has clarity like that? It's not often. Like I know, because I meet tens of thousands of people a year, and so few of them have that kind of clarity, that it's kind of hard to relate to somebody that doesn't have it. Because like I spent decades not knowing what I was going to do, or not like why I was doing it, or and now I so clearly see the thing. I so clearly see the yes or no at the end of the road. And sometimes I take on a no if it's going to be easy, or like if I think it like could really help me along in some respect. But usually I'm like laser focused on a few yeses, and that, I don't know, that's like, it's so freeing and empowering that like all of that other stuff that we talked about like makes it worth it. Because there are still some people that I relate to. Like I can still relate in some respects, just like it's harder for me to relate. It's like the Martian Manhunter can relate to some of humanity, but not all of humanity.
Yep. No, good character. Like it.
Yeah, for sure. Or Vision, or somebody that's like, I understand the process that you're talking about. I can't really relate to it, but like I understand. You know, like the Vision will never understand what it means to be born. He won't understand what born or like a lot of things feel like, or like being young. Like he just will never understand being young, no matter how much he reads about it, because like he was never young.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for all of that stuff that we talked about, like I feel very empowered for the first time in like a long time, which is why when something comes along and prevents me from doing stuff, I'm like, I find the need to like take some agency of it. Like I take some agency of like shows shutting down. So like I had to make my own, and I had to do these things because like that's the only way that I can exist. I can only exist like if I have agency. In my books, you know, I write mythological fantasy, and myths and monsters is kind of my thing. And so in all of my characters, the one thing that kind of unites them is like they're all people who are railing against the gods or their fate or their destiny, and trying to like take a proactive stance against it.
No, excellent, excellent. I've got to say, yeah, no, I'm loving the passion, sir. I'm loving it indeed. Look, yeah, and yeah, I'm sure with your next quest, that yeah, you will reel against those monsters, tilt a windmill or two like Don Quixote, and yeah, do something epic. I'm sure I can see that from your eyes. Yeah, it's been an hour, and I know you've got most probably a lot to do for tomorrow as well. I've got to say, yeah, if there was one thing you wanted to achieve over the next 12 months, what would that one thing be?
Peace, like with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've been working a lot on mindset recently. I've always been very go, 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 like goal oriented, like putting the mindset of peace away from me. So I'd like to get like that sense of inner peace, that like I feel like the inner drive, but I'd like to have the inner peace too. Um, since this is the time of COVID and my entire business just blew up in my face the last 2 weeks, I would like to figure out how to make money again. That'd be good. Like, cause I now don't have any of those ways that I used to make money available to me for the decided features. So, those two things, figure out like how to rebuild my business from scratch. And then, once I have that, like how to just be happy with the human that I am instead of the human that I'm always striving to be.
Superb, superb. Would you be able to tell the lovely people out there how they'll be able to find you? And yes.
Sure. So I am generally not such a bummer. Promise.
You know?
Like usually
No, 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 no.
usually I'm quite entertaining. So I split it into two sides. So if you are a creator yourself, the easiest way is to do thecompletecreative.com. I have multiple courses. I have a course on audience building. I have a course on writing a great novel. I have a course on a free business course, a free Kickstarter course, tons of blog posts, and my archives of my podcast, The Complete Creative. If you like podcasts, I promise you my podcast is more interesting than this is going to sound, which is I interview creators about how they build and create their business. But, you know, it's fun and like interesting. And like we have really fun guests who are like really creative, who've been huge, influential, like creators in their own right, and talking about how to get their mindset right. We had Dr. Deborah Holland come on and talk about how to deal with burnout. We've had Marv Wolfman, co-creator of the Teen Titans, come on and talk about his 50-year career. We've had dozens of creators. Plus, I come on. I just did a talk on how to crush it on Kickstarter for the podcast. It's really quite a little a show we have going. And if you're a creator or a podcast fan, I highly recommend you go over to thecompletecreative.com. At least check out the mindset part of it, because the mindset's really the thing that I'm really most passionate about right now, trying to get just like improved mindset for myself and for others. And then if you're a reader though, and you like myths and mythology, generally Egyptian, Judeo-Christian, Norse, or Greek and Roman in reverse order. So I mostly do Greek and Roman, then Judeo-Christian, then Norse, then Egyptian. Then you'll love the Godsverse Chronicles. The Godsverse Chronicles is a universe taking place over 13,000 years where all gods are real, and they're just kind of dicks. And so they mess with humanity, and humanity messes back as the main characters of my books. I also do comics. If you love comics, then Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter. And you can get all of this at russellnolte.com/mail is where you get 4 free stories. In fact, even if you're a creator, I recommend you go over there, because you get the first chapter of my book, How to Build Your Creative Career, for free by signing up at at russellnolte.com/mail, or as I mentioned, as a creator, thecompletecreative.com.
Perfect, perfect. I will put the information in the description as well. So yes, feel free to click, get a little bit of knowledge on your creative self. And yeah, let's take it. Let's make it. Let's be bold. Let's be awesome. Let's be fantastic. Let's be all the positive bees we can be. So let me say this to you, my friends, my life warriors. Stay safe, stay well, and hey, be awesome. Peace.
Oh, hi.
Hey.